Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and it's time for another best of 5 series of professional StarCraft 2, and what I got for you today is a Zerg versus Protoss between two of the very best in their respective races. Spawning here in game number 1 on Acid Plant LE and playing with the blue Zerg drones. He's from Poland and he goes by the nickname of Elazer. And his opponent, of course, spawning in the opposite corner. Definitely not a weak Protoss player, as we have the best player from the United States of America by a long shot. He goes by the nickname of Neeb. Now, as you may have already noticed, my voice sounds just a little bit differently, and the reason for that is that I'm currently actually in the new house. I announced that a little while ago on YouTube already as well, that I would be moving. I think I answered a question along those lines in the Q&A that I've done like probably a couple of months ago. Regardless though, finally got the key to the new place. I actually uploaded a video yesterday as well of me going to IKEA and getting more and more furniture for the new studio space as well. In case you're interested in that, I'll go ahead and leave a link in the description of this video so you can go ahead and check that one out as well. But please keep in mind that over the next couple of days and weeks, I'm gonna be working on the acoustics of this room. I mean, I realize there's still a little bit of echo. I actually just listened back to my own voice and I actually kind of like it in a way. But please post down below with any feedback that you might have, because I'm always interested to hear your opinion as well. But compared to like the first day when I first installed my computer here and the echo was absolutely terrible, we have already come a very long way. And if I really need to, I'll probably add on some acoustic paneling as well. And actually, oh, look at that, Neeb. He thought he put down the cybernetics core. He already sent the probe back, only to realize that apparently he did not quite plant it down. But there we do indeed see Neeb adding on that cyber core. It's really exciting though, I'm not gonna lie, like working from this new space. I mean, the one thing to keep in mind is that I've been making videos for like the last 10 years out of the same room that I also slept in. You know, I would work and sleep out of like the same area non-stop. It's actually been really nice already to just simply have like a dedicated space for YouTube and Twitch. And then, you know, once I close the door here after ending the live stream at night, that's just sort of, you know, mentally speaking, kind of liberating, I found already. And I've only been here for like a couple of days right now. It's really good. I've actually been doing a couple of live streams from this place already as well. I changed up my schedule just a little bit. It's going to be a Monday through Saturday from 2 p.m. all the way until 8 p.m. That is Central European time. I'll post a link to Twitch as well, actually, in the description of this video. There's links in every single YouTube video that I upload to my live stream page as well. But so far, right, obviously I've got an influence when it comes to like my internet speed, and I've got an influence when it comes to like my computer and the room and whatnot that I'm creating content from. But if your ISP is not working along and, you know, your internet connection is not stable, there's not a whole lot that I can change about it, right, other than, you know, deal with a massive headache. But so far the ISP has been absolutely awesome. Internet has been working like an absolute charm, and I'm really excited for the next couple of months because I'm gonna be able to like start churning out so much more content than I've been able to in the past as well. Really looking forward to it. Regardless though, before I blabber on about unrelated stuff, let's talk about this game. We do see Elazer now scouting out that his opponent is indeed going for a Stargate. First Oracle already being chrono boosted out. There's now 2 Adepts on the other side of the map as well. Neeb is gonna try and see if he can do a little bit of damage with those, but the Zerglings indeed, oof, just now earned their wings, and apparently in the nick of time, Neeb decides to cancel there just when he sees that those Zerglings finished up their speed upgrade. Spore Crawlers now coming in here as well for the Zerg player. They are perfectly timed as the Oracle is now moving across the map as Neeb is going to try and see if he can kill any of those workers. Actually, oh, look at that. That's actually really kind of cute. He's actually now target firing down the Zerg cocoon. And now, of course, ooh, this is actually really quite cheeky. I can talk about this in just a little bit as the Adepts once again are shading forward. But look at that. He's going to get the cancel. Now, of course, Oracles deal spell damage, and the thing about spell damage is that it declines any armor that a unit might have. So cocoons in StarCraft have a lot of armor, but that completely gets denied if an Oracle is attacking it, or for example, if a Psionic Storm is cast on it as well. That's really kind of cheeky, because apparently that did at the very least cost Elazer a single larva. And that's kind of the level of play we have arrived at right now at professional SC2. I mean, players aren't really even expecting to kill any drones anymore. Instead, they're not even going after the creep tumors anymore either. They're just simply trying their very best to see if they can potentially cancel one larva. Professional StarCraft 2 is going to develop a lot more over the next couple of years as players are just simply getting better and better and better. Neeb now though going for that quick nexus here as well at the 3rd base location. Now we are currently on Acid Plant. This is a completely new map, right? And actually, this entire series has been played on the new maps in StarCraft 2, or at the very least, the new ladder map pool. I've seen a lot of Zerg players opting to get the third base over here, but apparently Elazer likes to get it over on the other side instead. I wonder where he's going to be taking his fourth base, which will probably be coming in here in just a little bit. Elazer now, though, finally starting to lose a couple of those workers. Nicely played there by Neeb, just simply lifting up the queens and preventing some of these units from really dealing a lot of damage. A bunch of these adepts are also moving across the map. Zerglings just about to finish up as well. They do get cancelled just barely in the nick of time, as of course their glaives upgrade is not done just yet. Once they get that attack speed upgrade, though, I think he's gonna definitely go in for a little bit more aggression. Actually, uncharacteristically right here, Neeb is currently supply blocked. I mean, the Nexus will finish up and that will open up some more supply, but at this level of play, supply blocks are essentially unheard of. In particular, when a Zerg player hasn't been super aggressive and hasn't really been, you know, trying to deny you those pylons here either. That does open up the opportunity right now for the Zerg to really start pushing out the amount of workers that he's got. Now, apparently, 2 Zerglings now made their way across the map as well. They're going to tickle away at these probes for just a little while. 2 actually did end up dying there, but there's already now 60 plus workers here for Elazer. And that means he's going to start playing his own game as well. We do now see a Lurker Den being added on here, as well as the upgrade here for the Hydras. Of course, Hydras, they function a little bit differently these days, as the upgrades are once again split. But here come the Adepts. Are they going to commit? I think they are. Beautiful play so far here by the Protoss player. Zerg is going to be forced to pull a couple of those workers off the line as well. Hydras will be able to aid this scenario for quite a while, though. Shade now currently going into the main base, and they will arrive over there. 8 workers going down. You blink twice and the entire mineral line will be dead as well, but eventually it does look like Elazer will be able to clean this up. It's so interesting, right? Neeb has been doing these seemingly random adept timings for years now, and players still can't quite put their finger on it. I mean, literally what he does is just make a bunch of adepts and move across the map with it, right? And he does it in a way, though, where you don't really expect it's gonna happen anymore. Because he pushes quite early or he pushes quite late. He pushes at an interesting time where you just barely don't expect it. Because you can know for certain, right, that guys like Elazer and other top-level Zergs will be studying his game to figure out what timing for the adepts he's going for. But apparently, it can still deal a significant amount of damage, at the very least from time to time. A single drone are trying to make their way to the 4th base location as well. Apparently, he is indeed going to be taking it on this side. Oh my god, Neeb. That is so cheeky. That is so cheeky. Now, Neeb is indeed now transitioning as well to the Colossus. Now, Colossus, they have changed up recently as well. Colossus now deal bonus damage against light, more so than they did in the past. They're a little bit weaker against units that are armored, like for example roaches, but they are great in particular against Hydralisks as well as Zerglings. And look at the army right now that Elazer has. He doesn't really have a counter to those Colossus whatsoever, and as a matter of fact, I mean, the Lurkers are going to be nice, right? But as a matter of fact, these Hydras and Lynx, they're just simply gonna melt to the Colossus-based aggression. Do we already see the upgrade right here? No, there is no extended thermal lance for the Colossus just yet. They do now have a little bit more range by default as well, and the upgrade provides a little bit less. But at this point in the game, actually, Elazer does not know yet that the rocks are being attacked. He's just barely turning around in the nick of time. These rocks will disappear as Protoss is going to start moving onwards towards the 3rd base location. Zerg is completely caught off guard. A couple of lurkers will be morphed in as well, but that base goes down in just a matter of seconds. A couple of empty overlords trying to feign a drop right now. Very cute move there by Elazer. He probably planned on maybe dropping a couple of these Hydras or potentially some Banelings with those overlords, but I mean, it wasn't enough right there, right? Protoss got a little bit scared. He backed off for just a little bit, but those overlords turned out to be empty, as Elazer did end up losing that 3rd base location. And right now, right, Neeb knows he's gonna go up against a lot of those lurkers. He's gonna start powering out the Archons as well as the Immortals. A 4th Nexus is now also coming up, and so far, I gotta say, it looks like our Protoss player is in firm control of this match at this point. I mean, sure, he hasn't won just yet, right? And it's very easy to lose when you're going up against Banelings and Lurkers and Hydras and whatnot, but so far, it seems like Protoss is just in utter control of this game. Look at that. A couple of these overlords now apparently made their way towards the 4th base location as well. Even that one got the knight. Apparently, Neeb knew exactly what it was he was going up against. And right now as well, oh, beautiful move. Once again, tagging this army here with those oracles, really preventing the Zerg from just being able to sneak up on this Protoss opponent. Still though, there's a lot of lurkers here remaining, and these lurkers can deal a ton of damage. There's no revelation on this one just yet. There's also not that much detection here for our Protoss player. At the same time, another army is going to start pushing on the other side of the map as well. Beautiful force fields coming in though. Zerg is going to try and push in here as well. Eventually, we do now see that revelation coming down on all of those lurkers as Protoss is going to set up for a bit of a surround. More and more zealots are now also being warped in, and here we go. They're going to start charging away at all of those units, and I think there's just a little bit too much Protoss as all of a sudden Elazer's army is wiped out. The Colossus picking up kill after kill after kill, already having 10 kills here in total. It doesn't even need the extended thermal lance, as very shortly it will be joined by its brothers as well. But Neeb, in a very dominant fashion, picks up game number 1. I gotta say, I think that GG well played was perfectly appropriate right there for Elazer. I mean, other than the slight supply block, Neeb really did not make a single mistake that previous game, right? I mean, obviously, you could probably pinpoint a couple of very minor mistakes that he made, but for the most part, that was pretty much as close to perfection as Protoss can get right now. Very, very well done by Neeb in that previous game, and I think that Elazer must be a little bit worried right here as well, because, I mean, he just played a standard game, and he ended up getting absolutely stomped, right? It looked like his army was very big, but it was just Neeb being completely in control of that match from start to finish. And I wonder what Elazer decides to go for here in game number 2. Now, we are currently on Eastwatch LE, and this is a bit of an interesting map. We see a quick gas into a spawning pool here from the Zerg player. That means he's gonna get metabolic boost very early on as well. I'm kind of wondering if that means that he's gonna go for the gold base here instead, which is very close to the main base, but very far away from the natural. And now we do indeed see a drone moving down. So I'm assuming he's just going to be taking... No, actually... Oh, he's sending it over to the gold. Yeah, I gotta say, I love this. I've seen some Zerg players do this map in this exact same way already as well. So the idea is that you get a really quick metabolic boost upgrade, the Zergling speed. That allows you to, like, you know, send your units, of course, from the main to the 3rd base, or I guess the gold base, a little bit easier. Some players like to take this one as their 3rd, or some players like to take it as their 4th. But you can indeed get away with taking it as your 1st expansion as well. Now, Neeb sent the probe across the map. He's going to check up north as well, and he will actually just simply patrol it back down. He will confirm very shortly that the Nexus is indeed going to be a safe choice. So cheeky though, right? So confident by Neeb. I mean, he confirmed that there was no natural down for the Zerg, and he just plants down his own Nexus anyway, knowing very well that there's a good chance that he's not going to go up against a very aggressive one-base play here from the Zerg opponent. Very well done here by Neeb once again, but this is a bit of an interesting map, and as a matter of fact, I've been playing a lot of games in the new ladder season already. I found this map to be pretty difficult from the Protoss' point of view in Protoss vs. Zerg. I absolutely adore playing, you know, the Zerg pieces on this map. I think it's a lot of fun. You can get away with a lot of, you know, cheeky gold bases and whatnot. But as Protoss, I mean, you kind of are forced into taking this one as your 3rd instead, but it's kind of far away from the natural, and then you have to worry about this choke, as well as, you know, you can knock down the rocks initially, but then your opponent obviously can knock them once again down as well. There's a lot of chokes that you have to worry about, and Zergling run-bys and whatnot can become a bit of an issue. So I'm curious to see what Neeb decides to go for in this particular match. Now, he's sacrificing the probe. The reason for that is that he wants to know how much gas is being mined. Is there a Baneling Nest down? Is there a Roach Warren down? It doesn't turn out to be the case, but, you know, you'd rather be safe than sorry, right? Elazer now, though, he's going to be taking that 3rd hatchery as well. And I gotta say, I really like the way that he's approaching this, right? Because even though he doesn't have a lot of workers at this point, he's just simply going to be capable of out-mining his opponent when it comes to minerals anyway. Look at that, right? Very cheeky income graph right there, and that is just due to this, you know, obviously these beautiful golden minerals. It's a little bit of a risky base to take, but if it does pay off, it can pay off a big time. We see 3 gateways here in total for Neeb. He's also got the Twilight Council, already once again going for the Resonating Glaives upgrade, the Adept Speed. Or attack speed, rather. This will be confirmed as well by Elazer. Obviously, he doesn't know what it is he's going up against, but, I mean, he's playing against Neeb. He'll probably figure out what it is he's playing against very shortly anyway. This is kind of interesting, though. I'm assuming Neeb is probably going to go for a quick 3rd base. This is like a 3-gate kind of play, which is not something we see very often. He might decide to add on additional gateways here as well in just a little bit, which would make it like a full-on all-in. But just because he doesn't have a robotics and therefore no warp prism, I'm a little bit hesitant to call like an 8-gate adept all-in right at this point, right? It seems a little bit odd. He's gonna start adding on additional gases right now. So I really make the assumption that Neeb will likely be going for another base here very, very shortly. Apparently now those 6 adepts is enough for a move out. At the same time, Zerglings, they are moving from the northern end of the map towards the left-hand side, and they will actually be able to go into the natural here if Protoss is not paying attention. There we go. Elazer is going to be able to send them in. Now, very quick response time right there by the Protoss player, warping in those units in that bit of a choke. At the same time, though, we see the adepts finally arriving on the other side of the map. This does mean, though, that the Banelings are going to have to be absolutely on point. So far, solid hits, but the adepts are already shading into the main base as well as they do arrive on the other side of the map. In the meantime, those Zerglings still going down in the main base. They're capable of killing a couple of probes so far, but really nothing too crazy just yet. And actually, look at that, right? Resonating Glaives is a really sick upgrade as Neeb just once again picks up a lot of drone kills there as well. Zerglings though, apparently we have a couple of messengers left over here to tell the tale, but I mean, that was actually just mostly an eye for an eye there, right? Huh. Neeb is gonna go for the 3-gate into double Stargate? Double Stargate on 2 bases almost has to be Phoenixes? I don't really know exactly what he's planning to go for. This is very unorthodox here by the Protoss player, but this may very well be a build that he's been practicing. So he's warping in units from home, just simply sending those across the map, and indeed he's going for double Phoenix production now. Very curious as to what the Protoss is going for right now. You can do a lot of zoning with these units, and actually there's no creep spread here in between the bases just yet of Elazer. Look at that, right? Once again, oof, shades immediately in the direction of the natural. And right now, right, Elazer is going to be caught at a bit of a weird angle. I mean, he's forced to defend both the gold as well as his, you know, natural expansion here, but he's gonna have a hard time doing exactly that as the shades are just simply gonna go all over the place. There's no creep spread connecting those bases, and that's a pretty big deal. That is a pretty big deal. Once again, though, adepts are just simply threatening. I don't know if he wants to commit here. He certainly could if he wants to, but no, the shades do get cancelled here as well. More and more units are moving across the map, but keep in mind, right, there's no 3rd base here for Neeb just yet. I mean, this is being confirmed here as well by the Zerg. He knows that there's no 3rd base right now, so Elazer is just simply making non-stop units. He knows his income is bigger than that of the Protoss right now, but he has to be careful, right? One shade can definitely be the end of the game here. Once again, trying to get those Banelings into that party as well. Not quite getting that one just yet. Elazer now also decided to go for the speed upgrade first, going for muscular augments, overgrooved spines. Actually kind of interesting. I've seen every other Zerg player go for ranged first every single time almost, but apparently he values mobility more so right here, and I can imagine that that is the case. Considering he's going up against all of these scary units, there's no way he's gonna commit there though, but I mean, this is curious, right? I don't actually know how this plays out. I mean, this looks a little bit similar. And actually, apparently, Neeb does want to take a 3rd base here. But this looks a little bit similar to, like, Zealot, what do you call them? Corsair. Zealot Corsair. Or, for example, Zealot Corsair into Dark Templar. Or, you know, just simply straight up Corsair Dark Templar. It's very curious to see. Now, a lot of these adepts, though, now trying to go after the drones in the mineral line. Most of them, I have to tell you the bad news, most of them ended up dying there. Only 2 drones falling so far, as Neeb is not quite capable of getting the value here just yet. Still, there's these Phoenixes remaining, right? And they are providing a lot of value. They're really making this army get a lot more damage done than it otherwise would have been. But it would have been able to, but I mean, while there are a lot of Phoenixes available now, I feel like this has been held, right? Ooh, he's gotta be careful though. Oof, yeah, look at that. All of a sudden, a group of Hydralisk get underneath those Phoenixes, and they will end up dying in just a matter of seconds. So, 7 drones there in total. Neeb, interestingly enough, on 2 bases, has more workers than his opponent has on 3. But Elazer is going to be capable of powering those out very, very shortly once again as well. And of course, we do have to keep in mind that even though the Hydras did get nerfed recently, they're still going to be perfectly capable of dealing a massive amount of damage. And while Neeb now sees that the Banelings are here, He also knows that he's gonna need that energy very shortly to try and get rid of these Hydralisks, as indeed 20 Banelings are now being morphed in. Neeb is in a little bit of trouble. He's got that third Nexus now coming up, but there's no denying that Elazer's army is significantly bigger, significantly more menacing. At the same time, though, there's no denying as well that this can go either way. A couple of the Banelings now leading the charge as well. They're going to go after the mineral line, as a couple of these probes indeed will end up dying. 12 of them so far, and apparently that's enough for Elazer to pick up the victory here in game number 2. But that was not nearly as dominant as game number 1 looked, right, for Neeb in this particular series so far. I have to say though, I like it. I wonder if maybe Elazer should have decided to spend one set of energy on a queen for a creep tumor instead. I mean, in that particular scenario, obviously, it would have been good just because Protoss didn't have any detection whatsoever. So, you know, just simply having the creep spread between the bases early on would have been a massive help. But then again, if you're going up against like a standard, you know, Oracle-based army, or you're going up against like a very standard like robotics-based play, there's a good chance that that creep spread will be an absolute waste of energy. So it's kind of hard to make that decision for the Zerg player. But, you know, cute play there by Elazer, going for the quick gold base, forcing Neeb to play hyper aggressive. And while Neeb almost managed to close it out there, the damage that Elazer dealt to that army was just a little bit too much. And that once again allows him to even up the score here in this best of 5 series. So it's currently 1-1. Elazer winning game number 2, but I mean, he's not out of the waters just yet. I mean, he must realize right now as well that while he ended up winning, it wasn't that dominant, right? It mostly just came down to the micro of those Adepts and then the Banelings as well. And while eventually, of course, that went in favor of Elazer, it's mostly just Neeb that was forced into that position because of the layout of the map. Now, the next one is gonna be on Blackpink LE, and this is a much more standard map. This is a map that allows for aggression, it's a map that allows for macro, it's a map that allows for a wide variety of strategies. So I sort of feel like whenever there's like a map that allows for a wide variety of strategies and it's more or less standard, I always kind of feel like that goes in favor of Neeb just because of the way that he likes playing. Although Elazer is perfectly capable of playing that hardcore macro game as well, I think Neeb is scariest on a map like the one that we are on right now. So let's figure out what it is both of these players have got in store for us right here on game number 3, on the third map of this series. So far though, very standard play. I mean, oh actually, well I say that. Double gateway opener this time around here for Neeb. A little bit different once again, right? Huh. Neeb has got a wide variety of builds. I thought he was just simply going to follow this up once again with a Cyber Core, but at this particular instance, right, he's getting the gateway at such a timing where it will finish up right at the same time as the Cybernetics Core. Cybernetics Core just builds a little bit quicker, so that means that it will be done right around the same time. That allows Neeb to immediately start chrono boosting out those Adepts that he likes so very much, or maybe he will decide to go for something a little bit different. We'll see in just a little bit. This will, of course, be confirmed right now by the Overlord. Quite literally a flying pylon, giving Zerg map hacks, right? You can scout the entire map. Imagine if pylons could fly. I guess there's technically war prisms, which kind of function as flying pylons. But anyway, oh, look at that. Right? I love this. Neeb is going for a single Adept, and then he's also going for a single Stalker. This is not something we see a whole lot of. Neeb now also almost like taunting that Overlord, just simply putting down the Twilight Council in straight up vision radius. Now, a couple of Zerglings though, just simply making their way across the map. That quick spawning pool, of course, does make it pretty doable, as 2 probes do end up dying here. 1 in the main and 1 in the natural as well. The Adept, though, managed to kill 2 Overlords, or not 2 Overlords, that would be very impressive for an Adept, but he ended up killing 2 Zerglings there as well, as now the Overlords will be in a little bit of trouble as Neeb starts hunting around with the Stalker. Third hatchery taken here for Elazer. He's going to try and make use of that very, very shortly, but at this point he's just playing his good old playstyle. I wonder what timing he will go for a lair. I mean, he could be going for a lair right about right now if he wants to, which would open him up to all kinds of Hydralisk timing attacks, and this was something that we saw quite a bit of in the previous patch of the multiplayer version of SC2, and there indeed we do see the lair immediately being produced. It's quite interesting to see this. We'll have to see the timing of the additional gases here as well to really confirm what it is the Zerg player has got in store for us here today. The thing is, oh no, he goes for a Roach Warren. Yeah. So the thing is, they once again split up the upgrades of the Hydralisk, just like it used to be in Brood War, as well as during Wings of Liberty and Harder to Swarm, where you have 2 upgrades for the Hydralisk, right? So there's Muscular Augments, and then there's Grooved Spine. One increases the range of unit, and the other one increases the movement speed of the unit. And in the past, there was just a single upgrade that would provide both of those during most of Legacy of the Void. Now, until the last patch, though, that was very recently changed. So I'm curious to see what Elazer has got in store for us. So he's gone for 2 additional gases. He's gone for the Roach Warren right at the same time to finish here with the Lair. That opens him up for several different timing attacks. He could go for the Glio Reconstitution almost immediately, and indeed he does decide to do that. Now he's going up against the Protoss player here, who's not just going for some Glyph Adepts once again, but he's also going for the Dark Shrine. So very aggressive follow-up here for Neeb. He's going to be able to go for Archons as well as Dark Templar. Roaches are now in production though, 9 at a time, as Zerglings now confirm indeed there is no third Nexus to be seen anywhere just yet, as he does indeed snipe the probe that was meant to start constructing this one as well. Zerglings now, though, going to town here on the other side of the map. They're going to be faced by a single Stalker. Now, Stalkers, of course, very slow attack speed. They will not be able to hold that wall, as Zerglings are going to be in a little bit of, a damaging position. Now, apparently, 2 immediate Morphins here for the Archons. They're going to try and start... Oh my god, the micro here is perfect so far, though. They're going to start juggling back and forth. Of course, you can deal a lot of damage with the Warp Prism micro as well, as a couple of the units do decide to shade into the main base. They're once again going to try to go after all of those workers. At the same time, those Zerglings now manage to break through the wall. The Archons are being picked up and microed at the third base location of the Zerg player, as a couple of the Adepts end up killing a few of the drones there. I think that Zerg definitely got the upper hand here, as he managed to hold on to the third base just fine. He sniped the potential of the third base here for the Protoss player, as well as another probe is indeed being sent out. Neeb has got a very late third there, and I think that the Roach play here is paying off its dividends. Look at it, right? I mean, apparently, apparently it will just barely not be able to get on out of there either. And Elazer, wow, ends up obtaining the victory here in game number 3 as well. So just to recap, right, he went for the Lair, then he went for the double gas and the Roach Warren, and apparently just simply playing Zergling Roach, just the good old standard, right, that we've been seeing for like 7 years, was enough here to shut down one of the greatest Protoss players. Very well done. Well, that's it. We get the very first match point right now for Elazer. Of course, in order to win a best of 5, you have to win 3 games in total. Elazer now managed to win 2 out of 5 games. We'll have to see exactly what he's got in store for us here today, as of course he's got a little bit of wiggle room. Next game is gonna be on Catalyst, and Catalyst of course was a map that we've already seen a lot of in the previous patch of StarCraft 2. This is once again one of those maps where I would probably favor Neeb, just because it's a very standard map. Third base is relatively difficult to take, I suppose, but usually Protoss players will be able to get the hang of it rather easily. I mean, it's mostly just a matter of figuring out where you want to put down your buildings and when you want to go ahead and expand to the third base location. It usually takes Protoss players a little while to get adjusted to the new maps, whereas Zerg, of course, can just spread some creep and, you know, usually that just allows them to take the third base really early on. Without really any kind of trouble here, but we'll have to see here what it is Elazer wants to go for as well, because there's no denying, right? I actually kind of want him to go for like a quick third hatchery. That would be really cool, right? 3 hatch before pool, I would not be against that whatsoever, but it's not going to be the case here. The thing is, Elazer, of course, has got a little bit of wiggle room now. I mean, he can lose 1 game if he really needs to, so if you wanted to cheese, this would be a perfect moment to go ahead and do so. Then again, you can also cheese economically, right? If you wanted to go ahead and cut some corners and do a really aggressive push, you could also use that same amount of corner cutting, I suppose, but it's simply not really getting any defenses and really trying to just pile on the amount of workers that you have and eventually produce a massive army, but cut out any kind of early game defenses. We'll have to see what Elazer decides to go for, though, as so far it looks to be just his very standard early gameplay here for the Zerg pieces. And likewise, we see a very similar setup here from Neeb. I mean, not going for that cheeky double gateway aggression this time around, instead just simply going for the single gateway into the cybernetic core and then the second assimilator. This is like a new school thing. I don't know why Protoss players have started doing this. It seems inefficient to have 1 probe to simply hanging out there for a little while doing absolutely nothing. Then again, I guess there's already 16 on minerals anyway, so It wouldn't add on all too much, but it seems weird to see Protoss players doing that quite a bit. Once again, though, Stargate now going down here for Neeb. He's going to be able to start producing, once again, his beloved Oracle. And I think that indeed Neeb is now forced into his gold standard. No more cheeky, like, you know, 3-gate into double Stargate play. No more cheeky double gateway openers into Archon Adept, because you're just going to get shut down. Instead, you're going to have to, you know, you're going to have to play your A-game. You're going to have to play your gold standard, because that's apparently the only way you can go ahead and beat Elazer, like he did in game number 1. First Oracle now moving across the map, or rather the first Adept moving across the map. This one is mostly just meant for scouting, to confirm whether or not there's anything cheeky. He will indeed see that there is a third hatchery down, and of course he's not going to commit there, as Zerglings will be able to surround that Adept very easily. At the same time though, Elazer is also trying to figure out what it is he's going up against. He's now sending that Overlord into the main base of the Protoss player, so that means he's going to be capable of figuring out exactly what it is he's up against. But usually, I mean, he's going to make the assumption most of the time that he's going to be alright. I mean, already he's starting to go for that additional queen, and actually apparently one of the creep tumors right there does get cancelled for just a little bit, as the second Adept was also sent across the map. There's no way he's going to commit though. Yeah, there's no way. Alright. So we do need to see a blind spore. There we go. Beautiful play. 3 minutes and 30 seconds. He decides to go for a single spore crawler as well as one in the natural there. So 3 queens, 2 spores. I mean, that should be the gold standard here against pretty much every single Protoss player out there. Even if you don't know what it is you're going up against, the blind spores, of course, help out against both Dark Templar as well as Stargate-based play. And I think it's usually helpful to, at the very least, get a couple of those, a couple of those spore crawlers out, just in case, because there's so many cheeky builds that the Protoss can go for, where it's just very tricky to counter if you do not have the detection and the anti-air available. Follow up right now as well from with a Phoenix right here from the Protoss player. Double gases now also taken in the natural. Still no third base to be seen anywhere, as apparently, we don't see any kills here on the Oracle at all. Oracle just simply got shut down. I'm curious as to when Protoss is going to take the third. Usually you don't really see Protoss versus Zerg third bases from the Protoss any later than like 5 minutes. Yeah, so there, okay, no, that's actually going to be a Phoenix. I was going to say, I think he needs to send out a probe there very, very shortly. Or he could go for some aggression. I mean, there's a Twilight Council, there's 3 gateways, and then also a bunch of other gateway units. But no, he's just simply going to take pretty much the safest third base that you can go for, right? And that's what Neeb is doing right now. He's banking on the fact that he's the stronger macro player. He's banking on the fact that he can just simply beat his opponent in the long run. He doesn't need to play cheeky strategies. Very safe third there at roughly the 5-minute mark, as a couple of drones are now also going down here. Apparently Protoss was distracted for just a little bit, but here indeed we do see that third Nexus going down at the very latest that you usually expect it at this level of play. Zerg, though, is now also forced into that macro position. We once again see the Roach Warren coming up here with the lair and then also 2 additional gases. There's no evolution chambers to be seen anywhere just yet, but this does open up the opportunity for Elazer to just simply get himself the Glio Reconstitution, the Roach speed upgrade, and potentially go for a little bit of a push, right? Potentially go for a little bit of a push. Now, once again, the triple Oracle play. So cheeky. Triple Oracle and then a single Phoenix. That is 11 workers there. What the... I wasn't even really paying attention to that, even though I saw them moving on the minimap rather. That's kind of ridiculous, right? The amount of damage right there with this hit squad of units. I mean, what is this? A single Phoenix and then like its friends, right? It's like the boss of this party, and then the Oracles are apparently going to be the hitman here. Apparently the boss lifts up the queen, and then you like start zapping away at the mineral line, and you micro back whenever a unit gets a little bit low on HP. Very difficult to do, and apparently very effective. Third Nexus now though, finishing up here. Zerg ended up losing a bunch of workers there. Actually a very substantial amount of workers, everything considered, right? 15 workers killed. That's ridiculous, and they're not done just yet. I mean, they're just going to continue playing here. Look how cute this is, right? He's just microing units back and forth. The micro is so good. Oh my god, that's ridiculous. He might end up losing one of the Phoenixes here. Nope, he won't. As all of these units now once again get on out of there. And that is 24 workers in exchange for what? 2 probes with a couple of Zerglings on the other side of the map? Oh man. it's just him chrono boosting out a couple of oracles and then getting a phoenix. It's just the control that he's getting out of these units that's the ridiculous part. Right, and obviously he's going to be able to now continuously deny these overlords as well. Neeb showing us what he's capable of. He seems to be in firm control of this map once again. This looks a lot similar to what it looked like in game number 1. Couple of shield batteries now being created here on the high ground to prevent against any of these units moving across the map. We of course now see the confirmation indeed that there are a lot of these roaches out, so immortals are going to be absolutely incredible. We see our robotics bay now also being added on, so potential for disruptors and colossi here in just a little bit, as well as more gateways being added on. So very nicely played so far here by our Protoss player. At the same time though, Elazer, he's just going to be playing his macro game, right? Once again, we see the hit squad coming into the main base. These units don't have as much value anymore a little while later, so you may as well start losing them if you can kill 7 workers. Once again, that's ridiculous, guys. 30 plus workers. 30 plus workers. Zerg is still making drones right now. I mean, he's looking to go up to like 70 at the very least, because you kind of need at least 70. But, I mean, that's a lot of workers that went down very, very quickly there. Just to a very small investment here, relatively speaking, from the Protoss, right? Just so much value. It's just that Neeb's micro is really good there, right? It just allows him to get so much value out of this. Now, we do indeed see the extended thermal lance as well as +1 armor, or attacks rather, coming up here for our Protoss. The Zerglings still desperately trying to see if they can deal any kind of damage. They will be able to now enter the natural location here as well, nibbling away at a couple of these workers, as I think a couple of them will end up going down, but really nothing all too crazy just yet. Apparently though, and actually just barely missed it, a couple of units there decided to commit to the 3rd base location of the Zerg player. I think those must have been a few adepts, as they once again ended up killing a bunch of drones there as well, bringing the total up to 40 workers killed. This almost makes it look like Elazer is like not as strong of a player as he is, right? This is ridiculously strong play here from the Protoss. Just very well done. I mean, you give him a finger and he will just grab 40 drones, right? Like, you have one hole in your defense and Neeb just simply shuts it down. Now he's going to go for a big aggressive push here. This is going to be, you know, a lot of colossi. 2 more are just about to pop out. I think they just rallied across the map here. Very nicely done. He's actually going to move back here just to try and grab some more. But the thing is, there's not a whole lot of defenses available here for the Zerg player to try and deal with this. We see a couple of lurkers coming out, and I quite like that decision. Lurkers have 9 attack range, so do colossi though, with the extended thermal lance upgrade. So that it really allows the Protoss to, you know, just still simply micro back and forth against these units as well, as the Hydras and the Lynx will just simply melt. They will absolutely melt. Here we go. I think Protoss is ready. I think Neeb is ready to try and see if he can potentially close out this game. Just to make sure though, he's already gone for the 4th Nexus as well. Lurkers will indeed come in. Couple of the creep tumors will also now get taken care of from a bit of a distance. Nice little observer surveillance mode there, just barely in range of all of the units. But look at it, right? It's ridiculous. The amount of damage that these colossus are dealing. I don't see how Zerg could possibly come back from this. I don't really see how Zerg could possibly really come back from this. Now, once again, we see a couple of depths shading towards the mineral line. Protoss is not quite closing this game out very dominantly. But the thing is, Elazer is just simply losing a lot of ground. He's holding on, though. He's holding on. Maybe I was calling this one a little bit too early. I probably should not have assumed there that he would have been in a lot of trouble already as well. But it seemed just simply like Elazer was just getting overwhelmed there. Right, it just looked like he was getting overwhelmed. Actually, all things considered, Elazer is still at 80 plus workers. Even though he lost a lot in this game, right? He's still at 80 plus workers, and he's got units that buy a lot of time. Nice little Blink Stalker micro right there, though. Really weakening those lurkers here near the front. There's only a handful of them remaining. Still, the Hydras and the Roaches are also dealing the damage that they are meant to do. Single Immortal now brave enough to tank some of those spines as well, as he will be able to pick up another one of those kills. There's not a whole lot of detection here anymore for our Protoss player, though. He needs to get a couple of observers out just to try and get this once again. Colossus trying to get target fired. Not going to be happening as Protoss does micro it back. 2 more Colossi now also coming in as well. There's no detection here for the... Oh my god, there's no detection for the Protoss player. Okay, no, he does eventually pick them up, just barely in the nick of time. I think he must have had the... Is the observer actually nearby? No, it must have been the revelation there, just simply barely showing where those units are located. Or it could have actually even even been the splash damage that these Colossi deal as well. Another observer just barely joining in this battle too. I think it's going to be real important, but if you look at the unit step right now, it seems like there is no more lurker available here for the Protoss or for the Zerg player. And while Zerg is still ahead when it comes to the supply counts, and Protoss is moving really deep on creep, these Colossi are just picking up kill after kill. That one has 22 kills. 22 kills already. Now, even drones moved off the line. Apparently, one of the roaches will be able to pick up one of those Colossi as well. He's going to try to go after a second one too. But Elazer indeed will be forced to GG out in a very well fought game there by Neeb. I thought for a second that Neeb was going to be able to overwhelm his opponent like a couple of minutes earlier. It seemed like he was actually overstaying his welcome on the creep for a little while as well. But eventually, right, there was just simply so much stuff. There's simply so much Protoss. The lurkers were dealt with. There were no corruptors available as Elazer just simply couldn't really afford them. And that allowed Neeb to obtain the victory here in game number 4. Well, there we have it, the final map in this best of 5 series. This can really go either way, as we are now on Neon Violet Square. Spawning in the top left-hand corner of the map and playing with the red Protoss probes, we have none other than Neeb. And his opponent, of course, spawning in the opposite corner, playing with the blue Zerg drones. From Poland, we have Elazer. Curious to see what we will see in this final match. I mean, it's a best of 5, right? Both players have gone for a variety of strategies. It seems like in the macro games, Neeb is just simply a little bit stronger than his opponent, but Elazer is really showing him who's boss in these more like cheeky games, right? I mean, if you play anything but the standard, and you play the standard extremely well, Elazer is just simply going to be able to shut you down. That seems to be the general rule of thumb that we have seen throughout this series between Elazer and Neeb so far. So we'll have to keep an eye out on exactly what strategies both of them decide to go for here in this final map of the series. Now, of course, Neon Violet Square, it's got all of these pathing blockers in the center that just simply make it doable for small units, like for example the probe here, to make its way past the center of the map rather easily, but bigger units are gonna be in a little bit of trouble. Now, Protoss, I mean, the Colossus just simply walk over them. Immortals can go through as well. I think it's mostly actually Archons that probably get stuck in there, but it's pretty tricky though, because sometimes you do end up getting surrounded, and it's pretty difficult to get on out of there if you are the Protoss player as well. I would be surprised if Neeb decides to go for something cheeky again, right? He's been going for this standard like gateway into Nexus, into Cybercore, into second gas geyser very, very often. I wouldn't be surprised to see that gas coming up here in just a little bit. There we go. Indeed, getting himself another one of those gases going almost immediately. But I wouldn't be surprised if he's just simply going to play his A game once again, and he's going to play very standard. Now, look at that. A little bit of nerfs coming into play here, right? I guess it doesn't really matter all too much because you still have a couple of idle workers either way. But it seemed like that was a little bit sloppy there, right? Just simply having a couple of probes there in the assimilator idling. I guess they could have been idling on the other assimilator and it didn't really matter all too much. It just looks like it was a little bit sloppy. Pylon, of course, finishing up. That allows Protoss to not go for that Adept. He's once again going to chrono boost that. This one will likely be forced to confirm whether or not there is a third base up for the Zerg player. Speaking of which, not really seeing one just yet, as the Zerglings now make their way towards what is likely going to be the third base location. Every time actually though, we see like 3 queens coming up here before we see the third base, if I'm not mistaken, right? I feel like Elazer is going to go queen, and then like a third queen, and then the third hatchery. Although maybe I'm mistaken here. He's actually gone for the third hatchery a little bit faster this time around. And then he goes for the queen. No, I think I'm actually mistaken there. I think he must have gone for the third queen right after going for the third hatchery as well. It's a minor difference. Some players, you know, favor one or the other. Couple of the Zerglings now though, trying to get the surround there on the Adept. They will not quite be able to get it. The Adept already picking up a single kill and also confirming whether or not there is a third base up here for the Zerg player. At the same time, single Overlord now confirming exactly what it is he's going up against. We do once again see that Stargate base play. I wonder if Neeb will, will once again go for the triple Oracle, the single Phoenix Hit Squad. I mean, that seemed to do a tremendous amount of damage, right? The Protoss Hit Squad. It's a little bit scary. It's like straight from a gangster's movie, right? Don't really want to be taking that risk if you're the Zerg player, right? What do you do though if you're a Zerg? Do you just go for more queens? Do you go for a single or like like 2 spore crawlers in every mineral line? I mean, early game it was fine, but then eventually once the oracles really started roaming the map, they just picked up kill after kill after kill after kill, and Elazer was just really starting to fall behind from there on out. 2 queens now though to greet this very first one that just arrived on the other side of the map. Still no third nexus to be seen anywhere from Neeb. Would be surprised actually if it decides to take the one here in the corner. This one just simply mines out so very rapidly. Once again though, now a Phoenix as a follow-up, as well as a bunch of gateways, and then also the robotics facility. So nothing all too crazy here from Neeb, although this time around I'm not seeing a Twilight Council just yet. I think he's probably looking to get a third nexus here first, and then transition towards the Twilight Council. We once again though see the hit squad here, right? This hit squad is not quite as scary as the previous ones that we've seen, but it's still 2 oracles and they will still be able to pick up 4 workers very, very rapidly. 2 adepts now at the front, also just simply posturing, trying to you know, distract this Zerg player from time to time, force him to make some units here and there. Obviously when he's forced to make units, that means there's no drones. Nicely done there. Just a little bit of cheeky play here and there. But I think that if Elazer just simply manages to stay alive, right, and doesn't really lose critical amounts of workers, I mean 40 workers for obvious reasons is just simply too much, right? I mean, he almost still ended up holding there. Imagine if he would have lost like 10 workers rather than 40, right? He would have been in a very good spot. Once again though, look at it, right? Here's the hit squad. Here's the Protoss hit squad. So the Phoenix is forced to lift up the Queen, and then as soon as the units leave, they, you know, obviously regenerate their shields once again as well, right? So it's 6 workers there. That is 10 drones already, right? That's a very large amount of workers already, just for a very small investment. Very interesting. This time around, Elazer is even leaving 2 queens as well as a spore there in the main, but it doesn't really matter. He's transitioning towards the quick hydras. I wonder if he's going to actually position some near the bases just to be safe. There's a good chance he's going to be in some trouble here very shortly. Once again though, Revelation's going down. I am very impressed with the way that Neeb is harassing so far. Obviously, Neeb is also, while that's going on, just simply macroing at home, going for the Immortal switch. Once again, after a little bit of Stargate shenanigans. Now also the Templar Archives. Templar Archives could be due to the fact that he can take this 4th base essentially for free. And, you know, it gives you a lot of gas. So the Templar Archives, of course. High Templar with Psionic Storm are absolutely incredible. Lurker then once again coming up here for Elazer, so he's really not changing his playstyle here whatsoever. They're simply going for the Lair a little while later. This time around skipping the Roach Warren, instead going for the Hydralisk. But I think that's mostly a response to him not seeing the robotics facility early on, or the Twilight Council, right? If you see the Twilight Council, you probably want to go Roach Warren. Once again though, drones going down left and right. Oracle survives with 1 HP, of course. What did I expect? 15 workers once again. That's significant. Because on this map, right, it's very hard for a Zerg to really do any kind of damage. I mean, at this point, I mean, Elazer knows that there's a 3rd base up for Protoss, but he doesn't really know very much besides that point. He's now scouting about, trying to see if there's maybe already like a fleet beacon or whatever going up. He also knows that there's likely going to be a 4th base as well as High Templar here in a second, but it's a little bit scary to try and fight against a Protoss player that's got that many units already. 15 workers here in total. Did the Phoenix die? Nope, Phoenix is still roaming as well. Just simply denying a lot of these Overlords. Already picking up 3 Overlords here in total. Not too shabby, not too bad. And I mean, the amount of value that Neeb is getting, because the thing is, he's keeping these Oracles alive, also in case he's going up against quick Lurker-based aggression. Because this is really the only source of detection that he has. Right? That Revelation spell is really important to try and scout those units. Now, he does, of course, have a robotics facility. He can get himself the observers, but at this point in the game, there's no observer available just yet. Look at this, though. Very scary, menacing army here. Archons, Immortals, and, of course, a lot of these High Templar. They're going to be able to absolutely shut down most Zerg-based armies, and in particular, the ones that are based around Zergling, Hydras, and then also Lurkers. Because the Immortals just simply plow through the Lurkers very quickly, and everything else will be cleaned up by the other units as well. We do see Lurkers now being morphed in. 4th base, of course, now already up and running though for the for the Zerg player. And once again, right, we see Elazer successfully building up to 80 workers. I love that. That's very smart play. I think you need 80 workers in order to properly like send armies across the map and then, you know, rebuild them as well. If you have like 70 workers or 65 or so, you just don't really get the resources to quickly rebuild that army. In this particular instance, I feel like Protoss is going to be in a you know, in a pretty scary position because there's going to be a lot of remastered armies coming across the map once you kill this one right here as well. Does look like Zerg wants to go for a little bit of pressure. Oof. Storms immediately telling him to back off. That's like that dog that's growling, right? Like, you cannot try to cross that army. Look at that, right? Protoss even now chasing down the Zerg. At the same time, a couple of these zealots now moving into the mineral line as well. That they come from the single warp prism that is hanging out near the northern end of the map. Neeb, though. I'm really impressed with Neeb, guys. I'm really liking this so far. We see the Spire play coming up. We see Elazer now also adding on the Infestation Pit, so he's going to be capable of going for the Hive here in just a little bit. Maybe get himself some of those Brute Lords out a little while later into this game. But so far, he's stuck with an army composition that is just simply getting countered by his opponent. Creep spread, though, looking pretty solid already. I like this a lot. We do now also see the Fleet Beacon, by the way, coming in here for the Protoss player. The Fleet Beacon, a very important structure for the late game Zerg versus Protoss. And if these Lurkers, though, can get in a good position, right, they can still absolutely demolish most of this Protoss army. Yeah, there we go. This is a nice concave, right? As we all know, the concave beats the convex. The amount of damage that these units can deal, but there's just simply so much Protoss. I think that, like, sometimes, right, it doesn't really matter. StarCraft 2 sometimes is just a numbers game. Unit counters and whatnot are all fun. And they're all fine and dandy, but sometimes StarCraft is just a numbers game. The amount of stuff that Protoss has at this point is ridiculous. I mean, we see a lot of these Immortals now killing Zerglings, right? That's when you know there's enough Immortals out. When they're killing Zerglings. At the same time, though, these Zealots are just being denied. They're just simply passing past these Hydras as well. Warp Prism still trying to do whatever they can. Storm once again, though, deflecting a couple of these Hydras as Protoss decides to go for their 5th Nexus as well. A mothership now being produced. I like this a lot, guys. We are starting to make up for the ultimate late game. A Hive is coming up here for Zerg, and we see Protoss now making the mothership. There's also a single High Templar in the main base, as well as a bunch of these cannons, just in case Zerg decides to go for a little bit of drop play. Obviously, this can just simply get shut down very easily. It's gonna be a pretty aggressive play. Now, nice catch right here, actually, by the Protoss, or by the Zerg, rather. I like this a lot. Protoss does need as much gas as possible when they're going for that Stargate late game switch. Obviously, the mothership takes about 6.5 hours to build, by the way, for those of you unfamiliar. We now even see the upgrade here as well. I think it's called Advanced Talents or something along those lines. That essentially allow these Lurkers to burrow significantly quicker. That means indeed that Zerg wants to hang around on these Lurkers for a little while longer. I like that decision a lot here from Elazer, actually. Wouldn't be surprised if he's going to be switching towards the Brute Lords in a little bit, though. And here we go. It's a little bit of double-pronged aggression. There's a lot of Zerg now here, though, near the left-hand side of the map. At the same time, there's a lot as well near the 5th base location. Question is there going to be enough? A lot of these Hydras are really dealing a lot of damage. The Storms are absolutely on point, though. Neeb seems to be holding on to 2 different locations at once, but there's still all of these Lurkers currently burrowed underground. There's not a whole lot of detection available right now here for our Protoss player. At the same time, reinforcing Hydra is going to go after the Nexus here as well. They will be able to once more force that cancel. And while the Revelation now reveals a bunch of these Lurkers, and eventually all of the Lurkers will be deflected, the real goal right there was denying that gas income from the Protoss. So beautiful play so far by Elazer. As a matter of fact, Elazer now got the gold base up and running. He's expanding towards the southern end of the map. He's finishing up the greater spire inside of that main base. Elazer is going to start getting a very scary army here, and he knows it as well. Neeb is currently in a little bit of trouble. Mothership just about to finish up, and with just about to finish up, I mean about 30 seconds remaining because it takes so very long to build. A couple of cannons and shield batteries now going down here at the front as well of the, left-hand side base. This is a very important base actually to hold on. This choke though hurts a lot, but once again, the Storms providing so much value here for our Protoss player in red. But eventually, right, and I think we are at that point right now, eventually these High Templar run out of energy, and the Hydra Lurker ball is really starting to be very, very scary. Very, very scary. Still, though, these Hydras are running low on HP as well. Immortals can pick them up very easily. But here comes the mothership. And Neeb, indeed, once again, forces his opponent to back off, as all of these units are going to be cloaked. And there's no proper way for Neeb to, or rather, there's no proper way right now for Elazer to kill that base once again. Beautiful play. Really liking this back and forth. Carriers now even being added on as well. We even seen the upgrade for the carrier now being researched too. Brute Lords being produced now as well. Very important units because they are going to be critical when it comes to dealing with these High Templar in the long term. It's one of the few units that can actually effectively deal with those units. It's just that, of course, you do need to have the vision. And I mean, as soon as Neeb switches towards a primarily, Stargate-based army, it's going to be real scary for the Zerg to try and deal with that, as Brute Lords, of course, do not shoot up. I wonder if he's gonna go maybe for some Vipers as well. Vipers, of course, very nice with their yanking ability. You could get that mothership out of position and very quickly pick it off. Could even go for the Neural Parasite on it, which I have seen in a little while. Apparently, there was a little bit of a pause in the game right here. Not that big of a deal. Zerglings trying to go for the surround here on that main army as well. Trying to, at the very least, make it so that this Protoss army cannot just maneuver across the map. Still, though, Zerg is not done just yet, as they're once again looking to pounce on the base here on the left-hand side. And even though this one is, like, nearly mined out, it's a very important positional play. Like, having that control of the map is really important because it allows additional expansions to come up as well. Oh my god, those storms! They just killed so many Zerglings there. That's ridiculous. He moved so far out with those High Templar. Very expensive units just to kill some Zerglings. And he successfully pulled it off as well. 21, 9, and 15 kills respectively on these High Templar. That's insanity. That's insanity. They have been providing a lot of value. Zealots now, once again, approaching here from the northern end of the map, as Protoss is now also going for a bit of a push through the center. There are indeed now a lot of scary Protoss units, not a lot of carriers available just yet. There we go, though. The Zealots are going to be able to start dealing a lot of damage. They will be able to pick up the gold base here of the Zerg player as well, but here come the Brute Lords. And the Brute Lords and the Zerglings and the Hydras and whatnot, they're going to be able to prevent most of these Immortals at the very least from retreating. Corruptors trying their very best to nibble away there at the mothership, but of course the mothership is about a gazillion life. Zealots now, though, still dealing the damage here on the right-hand side of the map, and this seems to be a very successful attack here for the Protoss player. Sure, he's losing a lot of these Immortals, but Immortals, they kind of lose their value, right? Zerg will no longer really be going for roach-based armies. There will probably not be any lurkers anymore at this point in the game either. Instead, it becomes all about that air-based force. Corruptors now joining in this army once again. I mean, Neeb might very well be forced to recall on out of there. He does have energy on the next side, so he's going to be able to do so successfully in a little bit if he wants to. I almost think he's going to be forced to, though. There we go. Mass recall, keep the scariest of these units alive, but Elazer, while he ended up losing the gold there, he's just going to reposition it, right, and just mine from another base for a little while. Same for the base right here on the right-hand side. Sure, he can just lose it, but he can also just remake workers if he needs to. Neeb, though, showing us what he's capable of. Very, very nicely done. Here come the Brute Lords, though, and the Brute Lords, of course, very scary units. Very scary indeed. We also now see the target firing right there on that single carrier. Carriers, of course, very, very valuable for the Protoss. You do not want to lose those if you can at all avoid it. Same can be said right here for these Archons, as the Brute Lords are now arriving on the other side of the map, and Elazer is smelling blood. He has an army right here that is capable of beating his opponents quite comfortably as well. There are so many Corruptors and Brute Lords available right now that they're simply going to start nibbling away at all of these units one at a time. Sure, Cloak is nice, but we have more than enough detection here for the Zerg as well to start dealing the damage. Target firing down right now, though, on these Corruptors is Neeb. He's trying to make sure that he storms them to the best of his abilities. Eventually, I think most of them will end up falling. Man, these storms are absolutely murdering this Zerg army. And even though Zerg eventually loses the last of the Corruptors, there's still a lot of Brute Lords left over, and they're capable of just simply getting most of these valuable Protoss units out of this army as well. At the same time, a couple of Zealots apparently have been warped in on the left-hand side of the map. They're going to try their very best to slice and dice up some of these drones, and they do manage to do so very successfully. And while eventually another base goes down as well for the Protoss player, this is mostly just an eye for an eye, right? As indeed, Elazer managed to kill a base and he killed a bunch of workers, but at the same time, Neeb managed to kill an entire expansion worth of drones. 22 workers there in just a matter of seconds. Once again, 50 plus workers. So sure, sometimes the game can be all about these late game units, and apparently a couple of these late game units do get caught out on the map. Every once in a while, right, it's just about the worker count, once again, right? The amount of workers here available is absolutely terrifying. Hydra's now also joining in his army once again. They're gonna go after these interceptors, trying their very best to just simply shut down the production of those. Eventually, Zerg should be able to overpower this, but the amount of Protoss available right now is pretty scary already. Also, target firing down is Neeb on all of those Overseers. The Overseers do end up dealing quite a... Oh my god, that's so cheeky, right? The Overseers, of course, providing the detection right there, making this mothership so much more valuable. Apparently, the mothership eventually does end up falling. Corrupt is now going to target fire down these carriers as well. Couple of the Archons are trying their very best to take care of the last of these Brute Lords. Immortals now once again being produced as well. They're going to be capable of target firing down the Queens as well as the Hydralisk, as Neeb just barely manages to hold on. And I think he's actually now in a bit of a lead, because Zerg is going to be forced to rebuild a lot of that economy. Zerg is going to be forced to once again rebuild a lot of those units. My god, what an intense final game. I don't think we could have asked for a better final game in this series. This has really been a back and forth, and really, like, I gotta say that Neeb is probably ahead right now just because of the gold base and the amount of probes that he's got, but really he's ahead because of the amount of workers that he's killed. Look at that, 50 plus workers in all of those games, right? All of the little bits and pieces here and there, it just simply adds up. It just simply adds up. And right now, Protoss is really focusing on that late game based army. Carriers are coming out. More and more High Templar are coming out as well. There are Storms available here for the Protoss. And these Hydras, we've seen them die before to all of these Zealots and the Storms. There we go. They're going to be in a very vulnerable position. Only 54 drones remaining for Zerg, and he's not capable of easily re-maxing out this army, as Protoss is now smelling blood instead. He's moving across the map. He's even morphing his High Templar now into Archons, so no more Storms available here for another little while, or at the very least he's gonna have, one single Zealot now also trying to do whatever it can, and that's actually, it's once again picking up kill after kill after kill. I think that Neeb is looking to close out the game right here, right now. I think he must have realized that he's got an army that's stronger than his opponents, and while he's still in a little bit of trouble here against some run-bys here and there, he's just picking up so many worker kills. He's forcing the Zerg to just simply not have enough reinforcements here, and here comes the Golden Armada, supported by High Templar and Immortals, as well as a couple of Archons, and Neeb ends up obtaining the victory in this best of 5 series. What an epic final game. Very good series here in general, I gotta say. Very, very well done. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button down below. And if you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get a notification as soon as I upload more. Other than that, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I will see you in the next one.